The Moto G8 Plus is in some ways a very interesting and in other ways a very confusing smartphone. This video, it's our take on it. Hey guys, Ash here from C4eTech. Welcome to our review of the Moto G8 Plus. If you do like what you see with this video, please subscribe and turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. Let's now get started. Okay, so let's kick things off with the most interesting aspect of this phone, these triple cameras to the back. Yes, triple cameras, not four. The last one, it might look like a camera sensor, but that's the laser assist for autofocus. The Moto G8 Plus, it gains laser autofocus, but since the primary camera here is a 48 megapixel sensor with pixel binning, we lose out on dual pixel autofocus, and more importantly, we also lose out on OIS that the last gen Moto G7 Plus had. That being said, under bright sunlight, this camera, it did perform well. It took crisp looking shots with punchy colors, the dynamic range was decent, there's a tendency to overexpose the highlights, and as long as the G8 Plus, when it got things right, the pictures they came across really good. Sometimes it didn't get things right though. Now, we also have this cool spot color feature, it returns. This is where we point at a subject and then the app gives us a slider to drain the color away from the surroundings. There's a manual mode here and it is full-fledged, even lets us shoot raw. Under low light, we have night vision that lets us take some pretty good looking shots. The G8 Plus retains a lot of details in the colors, even from the darker areas of the picture, and overall, the noise levels, they are kept quite low. Moving on from the primary 48 megapixel sensor to what's very special here, the action camera. This is a 16 megapixel sensor that also comes with quad pixel binning technology. This can only record video, and the sensor here, it's tilted around 90 degrees. So we record portrait, it shoots landscape. So basically you get to shoot single-handed, kinda like with a GoPro, but unlike with a GoPro, you cannot capture stills here. Why do we get a 16 megapixel sensor and still not capture pictures? I don't actually get it. It only lets us get screen grabs for video. It can shoot 1080p 60, but footage is pretty shaky. 1080p 30 produces much more stabilized content. The footage is a little dark at times. Overall, this is a pretty interesting concept, and hopefully Moto adds a stills option with a future update. But knowing Lenovo Moto, I'm not gonna hold my breath on that one. Talking about video, we can capture 4K footage with the primary rear camera, but for stabilization, we need to drop to 1080p 30. The video isn't as crisp since the resolution is lower, but the colors and dynamic range are still pretty decent. Now moving on to the third camera in this setup, this is a 5 megapixel depth sensor. The edge detection on rear portraits is pretty good, the skin tones look natural, and zooming in we can see the details on the face. We can also control the amount of background blurred through the app, and there are a number of cool portrait effects here, like keeping the subject in color while the background is monochrome or as Moto calls it, color pop. Then there's studio lighting, and there's a lot more. Cutout is something we like playing around with. Cut a human subject out of the frame, go into the photo editor and paste it on any picture of your choice. As for selfies, we have a 25 megapixel snapper in here and we can take some good looking pictures at full resolution. There's a lot of detail, and honestly I think selfies are a strength of this phone. The edge detection, it isn't perfect but it's good enough. There's also a bunch of portrait effects that we can use here, similar to what we've seen with the rear camera. But the photos with these effects on, they're taken at 6 megapixels. We have quad pixel binning technology present here too, so under low light the selfie quality is a little better than expected. Overall, Moto has thrown in some really unique and fun features here. I do wish we could take stills with the action camera though. The wide angle, it would have kinda added a little bit more functionality. Without that, the optics here, they feel just about average or even a little below par compared to what the competition offers. Now continuing with that trend, under the hood, Moto has gone with the Snapdragon 665. Now this is a perfectly decent mid-range chip, and honestly when coupled with stock Android, it performs quite well. The user interface is fast and responsive, and thanks to the 4 gigs of RAM, multitasking isn't a problem either. 64 gigs of internal storage is fine too, and we have the option to expand further. It's a hybrid solution, but it's there, it's available. Coming back to the performance front, if we take a look at the other phones in this price range, we mostly have the 710s and 712s. Even the last gen Redmi Note 7 Pro came with the Snapdragon 675. So compared to that, this chip feels a bit underpowered, and it's evident especially in demanding titles. PUBG remains smooth only at lower graphic levels, and the phone does tend to heat up after a while. I mean, not a lot, but you can feel the warmth. Overall, this isn't a phone I'd recommend to gamers at this budget. Now that's really a shame, since I do like Motorola's software interface. It's clean stock Android 9 Pie coupled with a few Moto specific features thrown in. In the week that we spent testing this device, we've grown used to chop for flashlight, twist to open cameras. It's such an easy to remember gesture that you begin doing it instinctively, and it's something I wish every other phone manufacturer could emulate. Even Moto's peak display was quite useful, and we kept it on for the majority of our testing time with the G8 Plus. Yes, it's an IPS LCD panel, which means it's not as energy efficient as it would be on an AMOLED. But thanks to that large 4000 mAh battery on this thing, the battery life wasn't adversely affected. Speaking of which, the battery life was quite good. We easily got through a day of intense use on a single charge with the G8 Plus. So with moderate usage, we expect the G8 Plus to get around a day and a half easy before we need to plug it in. And there is an included 15-watt turbo charger in the box, so we do get fast charging support as well. Well, that is quite nice. I can't help feeling a little bit let down, since the last gen G7 Plus, it came with a 27-watt turbo charger. Anyway, coming back to the display, we have a 6.3-inch 19:9 IPS LCD panel in here. It comes with a water drop notch up top. Moto is calling this their Max Vision display, and in our time with it, we found that it was excellent for media consumption. We have punchy colors, crisp details, and amazing viewing angles. That, coupled with the stereo speakers, it makes for a really immersive experience. This is one of the few phones that offers stereo speakers in this price segment, and these Dolby powered speakers, they get quite loud. My colleague, who generally finds it difficult to wake up with even an alarm, said that the Moto G8 Plus was loud enough to wake him up on the first ring. Now, that didn't mean he turned up to work on time though, but that is a story for another day, another video. Overall, the G8 Plus is pretty great for media consumption. There's support for wideband L1, which means streaming HD content from Amazon and Netflix isn't a problem. The only con here is that Moto hasn't specified any sort of screen protection, so the panel, it is not Gorilla Glass here, so it might be prone to picking up scratches. Now, coming down to what I think is the weakest link on this device, the build. Gone is the glass build from the G7 or even G6 Plus. Instead, it's all plastic now. And while that is not bad by itself, the design here is really unimpressive. We have seen gradient backs done better. At 188 grams, the phone feels a bit heavy, at least for a plastic phone with a 4000 mAh battery. The weight is evenly distributed though, so you don't quite feel it when you're holding it in hand. The bezels are a bit chunky for a 2019 mid-ranger, and at over 9mm of thickness, this is not a slim phone. All of this combined means that this is a phone that we found ourselves using with two hands most of the times. There are some features that do ease this problem somewhat. Swiping on the fingerprint sensor lowers the notification pane, and Moto has included gestures for screenshots. A one-button navbar as well as one-handed mode are present. Speaking of fingerprint sensor, it is quite fast and responsive. We also have face unlock, which combined with the left to unlock feature made sure that we almost never had to see the lock screen. There is support for FM radio and NFC. Moto says that the G8 Plus should be splash proof. I'm guessing it's a combination of the rubber grommets that we've seen on the likes of the Redmi Note 8 and Note 8 Pro, along with a splash resistant nano coating that Moto's been doing on their G series for a long time. So the G8 Plus does offer some sort of protection against the elements. And how much do you have to shell out for all of this? Well, Motorola has priced the Moto G8 Plus at 14,000 rupees. That's for the 464 variant. For that, we get on-par-ish optics, a competent SoC, a plastic build, and a decent battery. Now, none of these characteristics are what I'd call bad, but in each and every one of these areas, the Moto G8 Plus is outclassed by the competition. Take the Redmi Note 8 Pro or the Realme 5 Pro or hell, even the Galaxy M30s. If Samsung is offering a phone that's got better cameras, a 50% higher capacity battery, at the same weight with internals that are almost equal to what you're offering, Samsung is a tier 1 marketing giant. Then I think it's time Motorola takes a look at where they're going with the G lineup. There's nothing particularly wrong here, but there's nothing impressive either. No real reason to buy this over anything else. Well, the one saving grace here is the software. You do get stock Android with a promised upgrade to Android 10 soon, but even that, given Moto's recent track record when it comes to updates, I'd leave the soon up to personal interpretation. So there you have it, my final verdict. The only reason you should be looking at the G8 Plus is if you really want the stock Android experience or want to shoot landscape videos in portrait. If not, there definitely are better options out there. Of course, if you are watching this video in the future and you've had this phone on sale at $9,999 or something, then sure, by all means, go ahead, pick it up. These are my 2 cents on the Moto G8 Plus. Now, I want to know what you guys think about it. What do you think the Moto G8 Plus is? I mean, do you feel it's priced right? Do you feel Moto's offering enough, or do you think they should have done something different? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And with that, we get to the end of this video. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, my name's Ash. You've been watching C4 Retech, and I'm signing off for now. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye.